Hey guys, kinggath here with another mod help video for Sim Settlements. This video is going to be the first in a series of FAQ videos where I'm going to go over some of the most common questions I get asked and really go in depth for how things work in response to those questions. So if you received a link to this video, watch it through and it should cover the question you asked. If you feel like there's still some information you don't have after you've watched the whole video, feel free to comment again on the reply that I gave you with this video link. There's just so many questions now that are coming up that require way too long of an answer for me to keep retyping. So if I'm going to have more development time to keep adding features and new plots for you guys, I really have to find some shortcuts. So this is going to be one of those shortcuts. So the first most common thing I get asked is, why is my defense suddenly 999? I think a lot of you guys, the first time you build a plot, that is a little confusing. So the reason for that is that sim settlements can create situations where you have negative numbers, where you have, for example, negative defense. Or on my screen, you'll see right now I have a negative water. So my on the left, on the HUD framework piece, you can see that it's correctly showing -1, but Bethesda's vanilla workshop HUD can't support negative numbers. So instead, it just shows a 999. Now, if you were to create an item, so for example, it shows -1, as soon as I create this water pump that creates 3, my water immediately goes to 2 because it's in the positive. So the vanilla HUD can handle displaying that correctly. Now, if you want to understand why Sim Settlements creates negatives, check out the in-depth series of videos. There's a playlist for those, and one of them called Dynamic Needs will explain exactly why that's happening. The next question I want to cover is, kinggath, why can't I make more shops? What is wrong with your commercial plots? Well, the issue with that is a little complex. So I'm going to explain some of the game systems that are happening here. So if we take a little tour of our city here, you can see I have a whole lot of homes, and they've all got power right now. Yet without even looking under the hood at the variables, I can tell you right now that none of these homes are going to pay taxes, none of these homes will ever upgrade, and none of these homes are eligible to meet the requirements for commercial. So why do I know that? Well, for one, your needs aren't met currently. And number two, even if you were to meet those needs, until you leave your settlement and this area unloads from memory, which I'll show that to you in a second, the upgrade code doesn't actually know that these things are up to date. So while usually the first time you start building, you can build a handful of houses and get commercial working immediately, as the mod progresses, it uses a more advanced method of coding so that your game doesn't get eaten alive by Papyrus scripts. So I know a lot of you guys have asked me how lightweight is this? Well, Sim Settlements is shockingly lightweight for all that it adds, and that is due to some tricks I did, and I'm going to explain those now. So in order for live updates to work, for this system to instantly count everything correctly for tax purposes and for commercial checks, essentially every time you built anything in your settlement, whether it be a water pump or a new plot, the whole system would have to recalculate the needs of every other plot and to make sure that the needs were all met. Now, in a small settlement like this, that's not a big problem, but once your settlement starts to get larger, especially if you're talking about the big settlements such as Sanctuary or Spectacle Island, where you could have something like 50 or 60 plots, it's just not feasible, and it can just cause your game to slow to a crawl. So what I've done instead is that most of the checks that go on in the background to check for that needs are met and that buildings count toward the upgrade requirements of other buildings, is that all of it's checked at once when a cell unloads. So a cell unloading literally just means that it's unloaded from memory when you get a certain distance. So I'm going to show you in your Pip-Boy approximately how far you've got to travel to get a cell to unload. So it's not exact, but I would use an approximate measurement of the distance from Red Rocket to Starlight. So if you feel like a settlement is stuck and the upgrades aren't working, simply meet all of the needs meters at the top there, and then travel about approximately the distance from Red Rocket to Starlight. So whatever settlement you're trying to fix, go from that one into that amount of distance away from it in some direction, and that should trigger all of the upgrade code to double check everything and make sure that the requirements are updated. So why do I do that? Well, aside from the fact that it stops the Papyrus engine from getting overwhelmed and keeping this feeling lightweight, there's also a secondary reason, which is there's kind of a little hack you can do in Sim Settlements. Well, you can't do it now, but you could if I didn't have the code set up this way, and that's that you could rapidly build things like water or food to get your meters high and unlock the upgrades, and then simply store them in your workshop, and there's no penalty for that. So this system instead periodically checks the needs and makes sure that you keep the needs met for your settlers, so that if you want to continue to pay taxes, or excuse me, collect taxes and have your plots count toward the upgrade requirements of other plots, you've got to keep those needs met. So I think a lot of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, and as far as having no problem with commercial, I think most people are having no problem with it and are able to get these upgrades to unlock, have never had any trouble with taxes, and that's because you're still playing the game. But I think a lot of you guys are so excited to get these building upgrades and to see everything Sim Settlements has to offer that maybe you're forgetting there's a whole Fallout 4 game out there, and the system is kind of designed to keep you going back and forth. You want to come back to your settlements periodically, but don't forget to play the rest of the game. And if you're doing that, you should never run into this issue. But if you do want to force the upgrades, and that's something you want to focus on the settlements, you're absolutely welcome to, but you're still going to want to periodically leave your settlements. So maybe go pick two settlements that are kind of far from each other and jump back and forth between them, and you should never run into these upgrade issues. Now, if you feel like you're doing everything I said, you're leaving consistently, you're meeting all the needs, and you're still having trouble getting upgrades, and weeks have gone by without them happening, I do have a couple of holotape options to help you guys with that, and I covered them in my last video, but I will go over them again at the end of this video because there's another subject that I want to touch on that has a similar need for going over those again. So the last issue I want to cover in this video is kind of something a problem I created myself, and that's that I've noticed a handful of people are starting to realize after playing with the mod, and it's not something, the recognition they're coming to isn't true, but it seems true based on things I've said in the past. So I want to clarify some things to help you guys. So right now, the thing that they're saying is, hey, if we want to unlock upgrades and keep all these meters full, all we can build is plots now. We can't use anything cool like Northland Diggers or even your own Salvage Beacons mod, because those require assignments to other objects. And what I want to say to that is you can use those. You can absolutely mix and match. So the thing that I kept saying, and that a lot of mod reviewers have repeated over and over again, is that I'm going to just paraphrase. I essentially said you can ignore everything about how the upgrades work and just fill those meters and you're good to go. So technically that's true. Your stuff will upgrade if you fill all those meters. But the reason I said that and gave that soundbite is I wanted a way to explain playing the mod in a very quick, 10-second method so that you guys don't have to watch 45 minutes of videos before you can get started. So that's definitely true, but it's a lot more nuanced and complex than that. I tried to follow with the development of this mod the Blizzard Entertainment method of simple to learn, difficult to master. So it's easy to pick up Sim Settlements, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So since you guys seem to be way into the mod, which is totally awesome, I want to give you guys some background on some more of that depth so that you guys can understand exactly how it's working and get the most out of it. So let's go over the meters, and I'll explain each of them and exactly how they need to be filled. So the first three meters, the food, water, and defense, are hardline meters. They actually do need to be full to the max in order to unlock upgrades for various buildings. So it may not be that every meter needs to be full for every type of plot, but in general, those 3 meters you're going to want full at all times. The next meter down is the power meter. Now, the power meter just tells you how many of your plots that can have electricity actually do have enough electricity. So if, for example, let's pop into workshop mode so I can show you if, for example, say this building didn't have power. Well, your meter would be lower than full, but it wouldn't actually affect the power requirement to upgrade this building or this building, etc. So while the power meter is useful to tell you what you need to do in your settlement, it doesn't actually need to be completely full to upgrade every building. As long as each building itself has power, then the power requirement for that individual building is filled. And then the next two are similar. So the home and job plot meters literally just count out how many plots you have of those types versus how many settlers you have. What it doesn't take into account is things like the level of the plots and the other needs. So while filling those is helpful, and those are requirements for some of the plots. For example, commercial looks at homes and homes look at the job meters. You don't actually have to fill them. So it's without overcomplicating the UI piece. And in order to do an exact explanation on that HUD piece of your meters, I would almost need an individual meter for every single plot. So that's just not very realistic. So they're kind of all rolled into one on your HUD there, into those simplified meters. But what you actually want to target for is somewhere, I tell people, aim for about 50% of your home meter filled to get level 1 shops, and then about 75% of that meter to get your shops above that. For homes, you want the same targets approximately in the job meter. You want to aim for about a 50% coverage on the job meter to unlock level 2 homes, and then a 75% coverage to unlock level 3 homes. Now that's just approximate. Those meters, those last 4 meters, the power, the home, the jobs, and the happiness, are just guidelines. You just want those to be generally on the upswing, and that will count for your upgrades. So you absolutely can mix in vanilla beds. You can mix in Northland Diggers. You can definitely use a good mix of Sim Settlements plots and existing workshop items. You definitely are not restricted to just using plots to unlock upgrades. So I apologize for giving you guys that misconception and maybe making you feel like you were trapped in building just plots in order to use Sim Settlements. That's definitely not the case, but it was just an oversimplification of the meters so that I could teach the mod quickly. So if you feel like you're having trouble though still, this is where I'm going to pop into the holotape. I added options so that you can basically ignore the home and job meters and just treat those as simple counters. So what you'll want to do to change the way commercial works so that they don't worry about the homes is switch this commercial requirement over to population. Now it uses a very low population to calculate requirements, and anybody even with a low charisma will be able to unlock all levels of commercial buildings by switching this. So as I've said before, I'm keeping the mystery of the exact numbers so that I can actually change the numbers without having to go back and update videos, but also to keep this whole system feeling a little more organic. So you don't even have to worry about it. If you switch this to population, you will absolutely get those unlocks eventually as your population grows. But if you like the challenge of the homes but still feel like things are stuck, absolutely leave it on homes and just try some of the things that I suggested in this video. For the job requirement, if you turn this off, the homes will no longer care about the job meter at all or the level of the jobs, and they will just upgrade as they're eligible from the other requirements. So basically these two options, the commercial requirement and the job requirement, by turning them off, it essentially makes the mod completely ignore the home and job meters, so that it'll make it even easier for you to mix and match with outside mods or vanilla objects such as guard posts. So absolutely feel free to use those options. The default options are meant to make the system a little more intertwined, but it can definitely cause issues if you want to use a lot of outside things, so that's why those options are there. So feel free to mix and match. Don't ever feel like Sim Settlements is trapping you. That's definitely not the goal. I want you guys to be able to use the mods you want to use alongside it. Alright guys, that covers the first FAQ video. If you have more questions, obviously always post them on the comments, and myself or someone else will get to them as soon as possible. If you feel like you found something broken, file a bug report, and I will continue to make videos like this when I run into issues that are common and require a little bit more explanation. All right, now the last thing I want to say is I'm going to need your guys' help for something. So all you PC gamers out there, I think you guys have noticed that every time I post a video for Sim Settlements, there's going to be some Xboxers who are going to post on that. So we're going to have a little fun with them this time. I guarantee you at least 2 people are going to post on this video asking about Xbox without having actually watched the video. So I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to release the Xbox version either late tonight or sometime tomorrow. But what I want you guys to do is anyone anyone who posts asking for Xbox, link them to a random video on YouTube, rickroll them basically, saying that, hey, at the end of this video, or sometime in the middle of this video that you link to, kinggath will tells you the date for Xbox, and just send people off to random stuff. Let's have a little fun with these Xboxers since they're so impatient, and maybe some of them will actually watch this video and find out that their release date is right around the corner. All right, guys, enjoy the mod. Continue with your feedback. I'm loving it, and I will continue to try to answer every question as I can individually, but don't be offended if I throw you to one of these FAQ videos. I gotta shed some of my workload, or I'm never going to be able to develop the mod any further. So thanks again, guys. Take care and enjoy the mod.